Bryce sampled the last of his bishop's finger, told me to drink up and started for the door. I made a crap joke about him drinking in a metaphorical manner. He said his fist was a metaphor for a brick and he was going to throw it rhetorically through my figurative shop window in the symbolic manner of a great big twat if I didn't shut the fuck up. I said he just missed the old clubbing days. And anyway, he couldn't afford a hobby such as hedonism at the same time as fitting brake pads for a living. He said he just missed his mum. We walked up the big lamp, arms around shoulders, in an idiomatic expression of a postmodern Freudian irony. Never once stopping to question our sexuality. Well, it's easy to walk that way when you want it. He grew up to be the shot and axe man. The shot and axe man used to put his tag all over the place and shot. And yes, he did carry an axe around with him. He was a little bit of a wild child. As we all were in the 80s. Yeah, no. Yeah, so the same night that Digger and Bryce spat on his girlfriend, I took the axe from his hand, calmed his rage, wiped the blood from his fingers like you'd wipe the sweat from the fevered brow of a frightened child. I never went clubbing with him again. Took a job as his scriptwriter. Made sure he went out well rehearsed. Grown men through busted gobs would say in statements, he was 5'8", blonde straight hair spiked up high, and oh yeah, his punchlines were superb, magnificent delivery. I bailed him out, paid some fines. His girlfriend thanked me just before she decked him. When Karen Carpenter died, he switched off all the machines in my factory so I could purge my grief in peace. Jarvis on the Metro. Right, this is Jilly Goulden's Spittle Kisses on the Metro. This is me watching two chavs having a good tongue lashing with each other. And as poets do, we try to make something of that. I seize their light, shimmering spittle as it twangs like chewing gum at the separation of their lips. And just as we cannot taste DNA, we cannot taste if the solution is blended or of a single variety. Hollyhocks dancing over pine needles and tinsel. And there's no taster's guide for saliva, no written account of the nuances to tell of its vine, though I suspect there's to be youthful, a hint of raspberries, balsamic and postal sacks. And how many tasting sessions before we tell age, body, country of origin for that matter? To do away with words would be a blessing. High notes of wood chip and creosote. They appear to like theirs wet, with a hint of promise. I guess if I had the choice, I would sense it drier. I would like my saliva earthy and dark, decanted from a bucolic mouth, hickoryed, not hickied, blackberried, not Burberried. Still, I catch that radiant sparkle from their spittle as it twangs like chewing gum at the parting of their lips. Silver threads to sow some half-arsed promises into a misty inebriation of a future. And there's no accounting for taste. Back to the 80s now. We dance. Evening warms to a cinder heat as neon expressionist art impresses on the canvas of a wet pavement. Slick with style, we smile. Beat, beat, beating, blinding our ears, communication almost nil. But our eyes, our limbs, our torsos learn a new language. Techno-tranced, we dance. Now there's a determination in this rhythm nation to let loose, shake despair, a desperation to avoid a reality overkill. So we dance to forget, we fuck to feel better, we drink to simplify life, unimpressed with stress, unimpressed with what they have got to offer. We dance with egos external, we dance with outrage, we dance with stars at our feet, we dance with our hearts dilating. We dance. I come from the same harbour. A lot of you may have caught the accent there. Yeah, so East Durham Coalfields, working men's clubs, that's how I grew up. The first time I can remember being in a working man's club was when I was 10 years old. My stepfather took us there, sat me down and introduced me to a few friends of his. One of you who was famous at the time, at 10 years old, you don't understand who it is, but it was Sir Thomas Allen, opera singer. And I didn't realise that my stepfather was mucker with his dad down the pit. So years later, I wrote this about my stepfather. It's called In the Nat Club. He had the same folds and furrows on his face as Sid James. Said it was from laughing too much. Said he felt laughed out. Never ugly, never handsome. At times bulldogs would stop to show compassion. Never rich, never poor. At times his ship would come in only to navigate away on the next tide. Yet his table in the Nat Club had a bohemian air about it. I remember sitting there like monk among the artisans, breathing a heady air of Woodbines and LCL, and a diet of conversation from Pound to Proust, from Brecht to Bezier, Oswald to Mandela, Carson to Piggott. I was alive in the company of life, the pit yakker, the poet, the opera star, and a dream. So when I was a kid growing up, we used to do the usual, make hayfield camps and play doctors and nurses with each other. I'm sorry, I was never ever supposed to mention that. Well, not in my hair, it's alright. That's when I started playing Siri, kill you, so. So this series of poems I'm going to do now is all about that growing up. And first one's called Connoisseurs, because we were connoisseurs at that age, it didn't go any better. We just thought we knew best. Simple as that. Simplicity came in summer loads, in the days when space hoppers were the accepted mode of transport, and a half-hour suck on a gobstopper meant a trip to Casualty to reset your jaw. Bowie was either a knife or the reincarnation of celluloid heroics, copied in minutest detail in hayfield camps, as me, Tigger, Sagger and Minty held the Alamo against the might of Keckney's gang. Later, with the ghostly scent of dead Mexicans indelibly fixed in our heads, we would feast. We were connoisseurs. Worm sandwiches without the bread, watered down mud for coffee, the odd butterfly for afters. Minty would lick his lips saying, mint, fucking mint. This was our cue to go into the woods and make like bears. On our way to the pit pond, pulling clumps of grass, turning rocks, clutching fistfuls of tiny frogs and watching them Houdini their way out of my locked fingers. I remember this, but not the taste. Minty said they turn your tongue green, but as I recall, they only turned the contents of his stomach onto the grass. Prophecies and the loneliness of comments. Summer came in the shape of expectancy. Competition, the root of all childhood passion. I discovered my affinity with comets that summer. Playing Kirby in the Widey Bark, points level when an aroma of girl underscored the atmosphere. My attention distracted, I throw a proclamation of my affection in the general direction of Fliss, only to see it stand like the tail of a kite on the heady thermal of a victory celebration as Saga threw a reverse spin doubler to take the contest 18 to 20. I can only stand there, kicking gravel, and admire the advanced maturity of Sagar and Fliss's victory conga as they melt into their horizon, leaving me turning rocks in my stomach, wishing for a fistful of Minty's frogs to take the taste away. My uncanny skill in the art of prophecy tells me it will be another 23 years till her ellipse next brings her my way. Plenty of time to hone my skills at Kirby, or study the movements of balls of ice through the inner space of my emotions. Risks and the companionship of stupidity. It's a consequence thing, my sister said, and you can't see it yet. But jumping over the gaps along the garage roofs was a hobby to us, and now we had to stop because she said, and being 17 and having wobbly tits, the rest just gawped and fucking nodded. Later that day we dismantled the garage roofs, took the pieces to the wasteland by the knap pit and built a fire. We took turns in jumping over the corrugated asbestos sheathing till it exploded. In my 20s, I read somewhere that it was a greater danger to cross a road than to drive a car. More dangerous to drink alcohol than to swim with sharks. More dangerous to eat beef than to hang glide naked. Nowhere did it warn us about roasting our testicles over hot asbestos. I promised somebody I wouldn't do this poem, but it's part of the sequence, so I'm going to have to do it, I'm afraid. Puberty on the sheets. No, when I said I have to do it, I meant the poem. Everybody just moved back a little bit. I'm not Olympian now. Mum said she used to press her ear to my bedroom door, listening to my club-fisted attempts at passion. Mum said she got sick of washing my sheets every day, so filled my head with fairy tales of fingers dropping off, and the smell attracting rats that live off the disgusting bits of books. But I imagined sperm balls crystallising beneath the bed, creating life form from fluff and stiff socks, some kind of accidental monster, and me, an unintentional Dr. Frankenstein. And the monster would love me. I dreamt of waking one Christmas to find the earth covered by a silvery white layer of sperm. My face pressed hard against the window, watching sperm crystals dancing. I'm an identical twin brother, which means, yeah, there is another one like me. Or not like me, whichever way.
Never opposite?
No. Exactly the same, but different. So this poem's dedicated to him. Twin theory. It's not so much the bruised ribs or the lack of sleep. Even the erosion of space seems destined never to end. And out of this womb, too soon we will be in separate beds, then before long separate rooms, houses, towns, lives. No, it's not so much the distance between, just the knowing that the best we can ever hope for is parallel lines. This poem I wrote after the childhood sequence, but it follows on from that. It's called After Kirby, a Comet Leaves the Widey Back. Shoulder blades rest on this blistering boulevard, tarmac pitting into my skin, bristling like hackles in this August fever. eyes towards the sky, hands shadow the sun. But still I am scorched as her comet arcs away from the widey back. The last of Fliss flickers in the heat haze. It's a dance I cannot do, a boogie I have no element of, a ballet beyond, a pas de deux for other beings. The rescue of cream soda does nothing to quench the thirst which lies bottomless as an empty heart. My mind is away, she is astray, our August is gone. Mothers always know the right things to say. The tarmac will fade from my shoulders, but the heaviness, opaque as the scent of rape fields, this melanoma of a memory will inhabit me long after the last game of Kirby has been consigned to the Museum of Ancient Childhood History. This is from my science series called Quark Boy. And this is Conversations on Sand. I have no hypothesis for the origins of mass, though life may just be the multiplication of cell division over the will to live. We ponder the shape of the universe, coned, saddled, multi-turtle, thrash out proposed constants, explode our theories, discuss the malleability of soul, damn it all to heaven. We saw desolation in beauty, and beauty in desolation. You remind me of the time of singularity when air flowed freely and our lives complied with all known laws. I remind you of a time when you sang pretty songs to the Candyman, traded your faith for trumpets and trinkets, an early compromise before we could understand visceral. So bury the dead under driftwood, tie it off with bladderwrack, leave it to the tides. A piece of Byron died on these sands. He sang of dead dogs and shipwrecks, but this is no place for resurrections. The pretentiousness of the alpha male. I am colourist, and like the universe, my heart is beige. Exchanged assumptions unwind along promenade. We take the pebble route to sand and gossip through the taking off of shoes. Your string theory, not a thread we should be pulling on. You and I sidestepping perfectly formed canine cuts, dusted by sand spray, beige sugared bagels, Danish pastries for blowflies, circling then settling, knowing their place in this scheme of things. Like saline mist, I am portion of observable fact, and as such, none shall ever see the whole. It is my reaction to the subtleties you detect. I am nothing without this. Truth, like life, is only perspective, variable points in time. Recycled lies, the fairy tales we choose to live by. I'm going to end the set with an old favourite. Well, mine might not be the audience, I've never asked anyone. But yeah, this is a big market tarantella. Do you remember the Blackie boy, Amanda? Do you remember the Blackie boy? And the eating and drinking through a straw for the bet, and the gin with sin in that big market inn, and the shooters that tasted of tar, and the cheers and jeers of our lager-fueled peers under the sign of the dark young lad. Do you remember the Blackie boy, Amanda? Do you remember the Blackie boy? And the cheers and jeers of our lager-fueled peers who couldn't give a fuck and were always out of luck, and a smile and a wink for the heavy at the doors, and the din, and the hand stroking skin, fingers on hips and teasing of lips of the girl gone chancing. She was glancing and dancing, she was backing and advancing, and the waving of her arms to the spin, out and in, and the bare torso that span to the tang of the drum and bass, and after that the split splot splat of adolescent retchings on big market cobbles, and the ache much later, and all that crap. Do you remember the Blackie boy, Amanda? Do you remember the Blackie boy? Nevermore, Amanda. Nevermore. Only the Horlicks behind closed doors, and neighbours' music driving us to upper floors. No sub-duvet activity in the bed of the dead where falls the dread of the cold feet of the lifeless to the percal undersheet. No sound but the sprinkle and tinkle of the far waterfall of our incontinent future. Do you remember the Blackie boy, Amanda? Do you remember the Blackie boy? Thank you. Yeah.